when you're trying to convince someone to have a coach, everyone always goes back to the sport example and like, look, the best guys in the world, the Federers, the Djokovic, all these guys that have it, and not just won millions. So, and then everyone's like, oh, okay, sure, it makes sense. But then once you take my head back into business world and like, so doesn't that mean you should probably get a coach? Nah, I don't think we need it that much.
There's a reason for that. There's a reason for that. And that is the way that it works. Yeah, it has to do with when the performance happens. So if you take a look at, you have a learning mode and a performance mode. And in sports in general, the performance mode is very small compared to the training mode.
Yeah.
Take Usain Bolt. Usain Bolt trains probably for 14 years to run for 9 seconds. His 100-meter dash, right?
Yeah.
So how much training happens in business? We might define training or coaching for maybe half a day, a year. So what happens there is that in sports, you have a lot of training for a very small time of performance. 90% of the time, sports people are being trained, are in the gym with a coach, and that's why it's so more prevalent in it. Yeah, and I'm not saying that you need to take business leaders out of their business and and coach them but that is that model that sits in people's brain. Yeah, and add to that he's going to get a coach if he's in trouble, remedial coaching. That means that it has this negative stigma to it. And I think this is where people need to kind of flip it around. But then they always use the sports. But sports isn't like business. You don't need somebody that sits next to the guy all the time to help him and train them and work with them. The person is typically senior guy, is pretty smart, knows what he's doing. He's gotten there for a reason. Yeah. So what you need to do is you need to mirror him up, back to your mirroring, with the person who is also pretty smart, who's seen it, who's got credibility, but who can still tell him, maybe you got to work on your back end, my friend. So I know you're pedaling. It's now just a matter of what is the biggest distractor. Can we reduce that so that you can perform better?
Yeah. I love that analogy because it makes perfect sense. And so you said it, I'm like, of course there's like this, looking at the sports and business connection. The models, I didn't realize how different the models are. And when you put it in the context of performance and training, in sports there's an asymmetry of training to performance, and in business there's an asymmetry of performance to training.
Absolutely, they're absolutely opposites.
Yeah, in business it's like, it's game day every day.
Game day, that's a very good, in business is game day every day.
Yeah.
And that puts an enormous amount of pressure on people.